Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to share my stitching with you today. My name is Phoebe. This is my channel about cross stitch, so I'm going to be just sharing all the things that I've stitched on in the last 2 weeks, everything that I want to be stitching on, my plans, and one tiny little piece of haul. Heidi from WIPS and Kits and I just received the red box from Hands Across the Sea, and all things bright and beautiful. And we did we took turns picking the patterns that we wanted. So I'll have those to share with you in a couple weeks. They're not quite here yet. So for today, I just have one Mirabilia pattern that I picked up. Other than that, we're going to be talking about WIPS, which is works in progress. I have one new start, and like I said, then we'll go over plans and stuff. So I hope you've been having a great couple of stitchy weeks. I know that I have. I'm extra in a wonderful mood right now because my baby brother Oliver is here spending time with me for his birthday. Today when I'm filming is his birthday. He's setting up a game for us to play here in just a minute. And I'm going to quickly record everything that I've stitched on, and then we'll get back to our festivities. Today also happens to be Super Bowl day, which we're like vaguely gonna celebrate, but mostly we're celebrating his birthday today. So yeah, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to start with my Mirabilia Garden Prelude because I'm really excited because guess what? I finished Elizabeth's dress. This is Elizabeth from the Mirabilia pattern Garden Prelude, and I stitch on this 2 strands a day every day. And I have just been working on her dress, working, focusing on that before I fill in any more of the garden. And I finally completed it a couple days ago, so I haven't picked this up in a few days. So this is my oldest WIP, which is why I chose it for my 2 strands a day, but also because I just love putting my hands on the Mirabilia every day. I like blended floss. I'm an OG Dimensions kit stitcher before I found Flosstube and discovered all of the amazing designers out there that weren't just, you know, dimension kits. So this is my oldest WIP, so I want to get her finished up. My hope is to finish her up before Mania, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll have to see. I figured the dress was going to be the lion's share of the work, and then I have like half of the garden done already. And so we'll see how fast that finishes up, but I'm very excited. I loved working on that dress. The colors, the teals and the white and the purple have just been so fun to work on, so I love it. And so you'll continue seeing this in every video, but it felt like a mini finish to get that dress finished. So there's Elizabeth. This is stitched on the Weichelt Raw, like whatever was called for. It's a 32 count, so I'm doing 2 strands over 2. And yeah, that's it for this one. With all the called for flosses and beads and stuff. Speaking of Mirabilia, this is my one piece of haul. So this is Mary Mary. And this was the new one that came out at Christmas time. I'm sure you've seen it a lot, and I just had to have it. It feels just like perfection. Christmas holiday perfection. So yeah, I love her. And if you've been with me for a while, you'll know that my next anticipated start is from Mirabilia when I finish the other one, is Nightingale, but I don't know. I might have to start this one. Time to make some decisions. So let's go ahead and talk about my new start. So I am a huge Carolyn Manning fan. Tim loves, my husband, that I love Carolyn Manning because when he wants to just like give me a little gift, he'll go and buy a Carolyn Manning pattern because it's so easy. They're just PDFs. Okay, so I have been saying that I was not going to start a new Carolyn Manning until I had finished my other one, which looks like this. However, it's not been coming out, and I don't think I love stitching on that fabric and flare for the Carolyn Manning aesthetic and the design system. I feel like it works really great with Ada, just the whole geometric nature of it. So I decided I really needed to start this Christmas, Please Be Home for Christmas design from Carolyn Manning. So I started it. This is on a piece of 20 count Ada. So it's still gonna be small, but it's just, it feels more fitting for this design, the kaleidoscope feel. So I dyed this piece of, it's grungy maroons, but it's like a whole bunch of different things. But this Christmas pattern, when I pulled the flosses for this, I was thinking it was mostly gonna be greens and reds, but it's a lot of gold and actually burgundy wine colors, which I'm really, really loving. So I decided to go with something more akin to that. So it's not gonna look super traditional Christmas, even though it's a Christmas pattern. So here's how much I got done. I'm really, really loving it. I have this loaded into Markup XP, which I use whenever possible. And because I really love how easy it is to keep track of where I am on that and where I need to go next. So I'm using all the called for DMCs. Please Be Home for Christmas from Carolyn Manning, 1/1 on 20 count Ada, dyed by me. Not all, but most of the linens or fabrics you're gonna see today are dyed by me. I also dye fabric under the name Moonshine Stitchery if you're interested in shopping any fabric that I've dyed. Not this exact color is on my website. I do have a piece of 18 count Ada for you there that's more sampler friendly. But if you want to check out any of my fabric, that's always linked down below. The next WIP I'm gonna share with you is some buddy stitching I've been doing with Heidi from WIPS and Kids and Michael from Davis Quilting Stitching. This is Dale from Shakespeare's Peddler. And I have finished this top band of motifs, and we have been stitching on this together on Monday Stitchy Zooms lately. And we all are stitching on the same project, but I think we're all using different, fibers, flosses. So if you would like to see the differences based upon what you use, so Heidi's using Vicki Clayton Silks, Michael is using DMC, and these are the called for MPIs that I'm using. So I'll just pull in for a little bit. You can see the bands. This is a really fun project. There are bright pops of color, but it is more prim without being brown. So on our last stitchy session, I finished up the very end of this, and then I just started working on grass. So in an hour, all I got done, that's how long this thing is. And I use the sewing method with MPIs. All I got done was 1.5 rows of this grass. Now granted, we are talking and having a great time, but still, I didn't have to check the chart. All I had to do was keep going. So anyway, I really, really love this. And I love stitching with friends. This is a giant fat half of Zweigart linen that I overdyed to give it this kind of springy green coloration. And I believe Heidi and Michael are also stitching this on 40 count. So if you want to check out their channels too and see their progress as well, but you'll continue seeing this. Actually, we are having a new start tomorrow for our little Stitchy Zooms. We are going to be starting Anne Grimshaw. So actually, let me go ahead and show you that. So you probably know what Anne Grimshaw looks like, but in case you don't, it looks like this from Scarlet Letter. And we're all stitching this on Moonshine Stitchery Barrow. We're gonna stitch in 40 count. This is it looks white, but it's actually, if it's any coloration at all, it is slightly gray blue, slightly. But we kept it really unmodeled and more straightforward to be the backdrop for Stunning Anne Grimshaw. So I also dyed floss. It is not separated into the strands that I'm gonna straighten it all out and separate it into strands, but I just kind of bunched this together for you so you can see it's mostly this very dark like chalkboard, very dark chalkboard gray, but then I have also, so first I dyed it some shades of indigo blue and then I covered it over and I left some spots less saturated with the gray so that I could have just a little bit of variegation. So Barrow is a shade that's on my website if you want to pick up this color. Like I said, so we're doing a fat half for Anne Grimshaw because she's huge. So I don't know if you can see it, but it has very, very gentle modeling. It's just a really soft color if you want like basically a white, but it's gonna have a little bit of, I kind of think Anne Grimshaw looks a little spooky, like Edgar Allan Poe creeping in on the colorway, just a little bit. So my Stitchy website is actually, resides on my nail polish website, which is moonshinemani.com. But that's linked below, so that you're not confused when you go look for Moonshine Stitchery, just click on the link and it'll take you right there. So yes, that is our proposed start, our Stitching Buddy start for tomorrow. If you have this kitted up and wanted a reason to start it, and then we're gonna be stitching on it on Mondays, well, now we'll have to battle it out. Who gets stitched on, Anne or Anne? So yes. That's our proposed new start, part of my plans. So if you were with me on my last Flosstube episode, you will remember that one of the random projects that I rolled to stitch on is Mr. Collins' Humble Abode from the Stitching Parlor. This is also a buddy stitch I'm doing with Heidi from WIPS and Kits. And I rolled that I will stitch on this sometime in the last 2 weeks, and I did. So what did I do? I basically put in a lot more of that top line of the alphabet and then the top border and the bottom border. The bottom border underneath the second half of the alphabet is so cute. I love it so much. So that is really all I did on that. I think I only worked on it for a day and a half. And the letters are ghosty a little bit, but it's okay. I still really like it. So this is another piece of linen that I overdyed. I dyed this at Heidi's house when I was visiting her last June. So a check off on that plan from last week. That did get some stitches on it. So that's 40 count. I'm doing my own from stash conversion on the flosses. So it's 1/2 on 40 count. Okay, one of the projects that I worked on a lot is Blackberry House from Plum Street Sampler. Get that thread out of the way. This is stitched on Fabric and Flare dried petal. This fabric is like an Ort magnet and like anything that's on my couch magnet. Everything just wants to stick to it. I feel like it needs a really good washing. Anyway, as you can see, I'm getting very close to a finish on this. So what's new from last time? All of this house and then like everything here and probably some of this too. I really did push and get a lot done on this. I think I worked on it on the 29th and the 30th of January. I stitch on this on the 30th of every month. It's a project that my daughter Joy picked out for me to stitch for her. And it's a 1/2 on 40 count dried petal from Fabric and Flare with all the called for flosses. And I'm really excited. I'm feeling close to a finish. It does have 2015 on there because that's the year my daughter was born. So this one's just gorgeous. I love it. The other project that I random rolled to stitch on was Hannah Campbell. I have a very hard time remembering the name of this sampler for some reason, but I need to get over it because guess what? I'm pretty sure this is my favorite sampler of all time. It is so fun, so very fun. So this is a Hands Across the Sea sampler. And the reason that this is so fun is there's so much going on and it's all different. Now, I don't remember if when I get to the other side it's going to be repeating, but there's just constantly something different, some different design element to stitch, and also graphically I really love all of the lines, this big diamond that's going to be in the middle. Now there is a bit of overrun, and when I say a bit, I mean more than a bit. Here's my first. I started with the little bird, and then I went in for these letters, which are all going to be over one. These big, beautiful font, this big, beautiful font, but in over one. So this is, I kitted this up with flosses from my stash. You know, I have a hard time stitching sometimes with boring floss, so I like to mix it up. But it does mean that sometimes I pick a floss like this one, which I'm using for these letters, that are going to give quite a great variegation in other places, because it's also being, those are being used in this vase, for example. So it's not going to be super traditional looking, but that's okay. That's what I like. So this is 40 count, some more 40 count that I overdyed. This is a rosy peach color mix, and yeah, I think this one's 36 count, but I'm doing 1/2, and I just love her so much. She's just the most interesting sampler. All right, let's see which whip is which. On the 4th of February, I stitched on my patriotic piece, which is Americana Sailboat Sampler from Artful Offerings. This is bigger than I anticipated that it would be. It's on 40 count that I overdyed, this kind of grungy olive color. And I am getting close to the finish line. So this time I finished this whole motif with the anchor. The anchor was already in, so I just had to finish the other side of all these gold leaf. Oh yeah, that is done. I was like, this little part right here looks strange, but no, it's matching on the other side. So anyway, that, I finished that, and then look at that water. That's what I was mostly working on. I believe this is gonna be the bottom. That's the bottom blue line that's gonna be. And then, yeah, it's words that are gonna go down here. So I am getting pretty close. I also put in all these little stars here, which you can't see that well until I get the blue in, but I worked on that. So 40 count, these are using my flosses from Stash, with the exception of Grecian Gold. And that's one that I already had on hand, so I just used it. And it's so cute. I love it. I love having something patriotic to stitch on the 4th of every month. So you will continue seeing that till it is done. On the 31st of January, and I think the 1st as well, I was stitching on my next oldest whip. So after Elizabeth, this is my next oldest whip. This is Happy Halloween from Brian Jackson. I think it's called Love for Cross Stitch, and I really love this pattern. It's super fun. So I have this loaded into my Markup XP. So this is similar to, what's going on? Oh yeah, I'm halfway through pulling stuff out. Okay, so I didn't realize, but this background here is all supposed to be half stitches. So I had put it all in like this, whole stitches. And so a lot of my stitching on this, the 2 days that I was stitching, was pulling out all of this back and taking it out and then immediately putting it back in as a half stitch. So right here, I'm still in the middle. Looks like I just clipped that and I was pulling it out. So besides that, I worked a lot on this snake pea and this, what is that? A stalk of hay? I don't know. And then these candles. So I got quite a bit done. This is a piece of 28 count Lugana from Under the Sea Fabrics in this really pretty, not very Halloween-y looking colorway, but that's okay. And so I'm using 2 strands over 2 on 28 count, and I'm really enjoying it. So this is a treat to stitch on every time it comes out. It just hasn't come out very much in the last like 3 years since I started it. So I am planning to get some work done on my oldest whips. Speaking of which, final two. But this one is my next oldest WIP after that. And this is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. And so I have completed, what is this square? Like 1, 2, 3, 4? Or does it go 4 across? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm gonna be stitching them all together, as you can see. I've got a needle in here because I was literally working on this today. And I thought, oh, I'll be able to finish out that first block before I want to fill my floss tube. But no, I need to go make Oliver's cake. I'm making tres leches cake today. I will try to remember to update if it was a great recipe, and I'll link it down in the description bar below. I've never made tres leches before. And then we're gonna have taco salad, and I wanted to try to make his favorite ice cream today, which would be a first for me too, because I heard that I can just make it in my food processor, and that sounds pretty cool to me. So gonna give it a try. So yeah, we do lie beneath the grass. There's a big spider web that's gonna go here and here, and then there's a ghost that goes here. But besides that, I just need to finish filling in the graveyard, and then this one will be done. So this one's really cute. Once you get this house done, this block stitches up a lot faster than this block. This block was full coverage and kind of wore me out, but yeah, I do really like this pattern. So, and Heidi and Michael and I are stitching Christmas at Hawk Run together, and they are really booking it, and I am not, but that's okay. So anyway, this is 40 count flax from Zweigart. And so I'm stitching 1 over 2 with the called for DMCs. And the DMCs are fab on this. My final WIP to share with you today is my birthday stitch. I stitch on this on the 7th of every month. This is my latest Jeannette Douglas. So I have done bee stitches, vintage stitches, and this is Seaside stitches. And see how it is filling out? It is looking close to a finish, aided a lot by this border. This is mostly what I did when I stitched on this on the 7th this month. So in her instructions, she calls this border with the very thin luminescent pecan going across, she says the rope border. That's the rope border, so there's a little beading to do on that. I was listening to Annihilation when I was doing that. You know how you can recall what media you were consuming at the time? And then I went in for this satin stitch border, and I love it so much. That's a Karen Water Lilies that I took all the way around. It's so pretty. Look at her designing with all that color. Oh, she's so good. I love you, Jeannette Douglas. I feel like I say that every single time, but I do. She has my heart. So I love this so much. She teaches me all these new things. It's like a little adventure every time I get this out to stitch it. So I do have some pretty big bordering to go, and then probably like maybe 3 or 4 more sessions, and I think this should be done. So that means March, April, May, June, which is kind of perfect coming around for me to start my new birthday start for this year in August. So I have a question for you guys though. There is a missing border right here between the rope and these what are they called? Steering wheels. Okay, so there is supposed to be a lorikeet floss that goes in here, and I'm supposed to couch it. But I can't get my hands on that floss online. So what would you guys think if I just went to Hobby Lobby and found a yarn, a smaller yarn that matched this colorway, and did it with that? Would that work the same for me, those of you who are used to lorikeet? Because when I had to use lorikeet on the last 2 that I did from her, it is a huge pain in the butt, by the way. So it's like, if I'm just gonna be stitching with yarn, I might as well just go pick up yarn at the craft store. So I just feel like it's gonna be the exact same. Or I could just totally leave it out. So what do you think? Leave it out, continue searching for the exact thing online, or just go pick up something from Hobby Lobby? Tell me what you think. I'm going to put right here what it's supposed to look like, and you can see side by side if it even looks like it's really missing it. So it'll help you make a more informed decision as you advise me what you think I should do. So this is a piece of 32 count even weave that I overdyed in to go along with the color scheme of the piece. And I love it so much. All right, so that's all the stitching we're gonna be looking at today. Now I'm gonna talk to you about plans because I already showed you my little haul. So my main, so tomorrow my new start is gonna be Anne Grimshaw. And then aside from that, I do have specific projects I stitch on specific days. So on the 10th, which is tomorrow, I'll be stitching on my anniversary piece, which looks like this. And when I finish that, that will be like the 3 main places that Tim and I have gone to together as a couple. I did Hawaii, then London, then Paris. And then I think I'm gonna do a World of Warcraft themed full coverage. I know, like I need another full coverage piece, but I think I really want to. So here's the image I want to do, and I'm going to plot it into my PC cross-stitch software that he got me like 10 years ago and see if I can make it work. I have used that before with my own stitching. I've not ever like diligently done like a diagonal parking method to really be able to see a piece of work come out that I've plotted on that software to see if it's really even that good. If you have strong opinions about stitchy software, like for putting your own full coverage pieces in, let me know in the comments if you feel like you can save me some time. But anyway, that's the plan. So the reason for this image is because my husband Tim and I, we met on this video game, in this area in the video game. That is not a picture of us in the video game, that's some like fan art that I found online, but it just, the colors look really pretty and remind me of that time. So yeah, I think that's a plan for in a little ways. So Pretty Little Paris will get stitched on or around the 10th. On the 13th, I will be stitching on this piece, something Halloween-y. I'll stitch on the 13th. And then on the 21st, I'll be stitching on Fractal Flowers from Kathy Barrick. And those are the only 3 days that fall between now and my next video that I will be stitching on specific things. So other than that, I'm gonna be trying to stitch on my oldest WIPS. But if I am just like not feeling it and I want to stitch on something totally random, I draw 2 random projects with you guys. So first I use my randomizer, my Mania randomizer. So I just tap it like this and it tells me it wants me to work on project 21, which, am I wrong? Is that the exact project it had me work on last time? It might be. Yes, that is exactly what I rolled last time. So for variety, because I like variety, I'm gonna roll again. Okay, down 1 number. So a year of celebrations. This project comes up so much, you'd think that it would be done. Okay, so this is my Mania list from last year. We'll be adding 1 more, but also anything that has a dot means that I finished it. And that means that Halloween Quaker gets a dot. I didn't put a dot on there yet. Anyway, so at some point in the next 2 weeks, I will stitch on a year of celebrations. I believe that I'm in May, and then I go to my Tiny Decisions app, and all my WIPs are in here, including the Mania ones. Okay. Okay, well, I can't deny that I feel like I'm supposed to work on that again this week. So I will be working again on Hannah Campbell because that happened. And if for some reason I only want to work on her for a little bit because I just worked on her, I will also work on... Okay, that's Happy Halloween, which looks like this. So, all right, that's cool, that's cool. I really had a lot of fun stitching on those the last 2 weeks, so I will just get them out again. That sounds great. I did say that I wanted to work on my older WIPs, so sounds like a plan. Next, we're gonna be talking about books. So if you are not at all interested in listening to what I've been reading the last couple weeks, then this will be so long for now. But if you would like to hear, So last time I was letting you know that basically I've only been listening to Outlander and that's it. But I do have more content to discuss with you. So I buddy read a lot of books with my friend Leilani. She lives in Arizona. We used to be neighbors in California. And one of the ways that we stay in contact is we read books together. So we recently read Onyx Storm, which is the third book in the Fourth Wing trilogy. And I really like dragons. They're probably my favorite animal. It's an interesting like storyline and things. However, it's not very well written. Side characters are not fleshed out. And some of the elements of the story is just getting tired. That being said, I am happy that I read it because my friend who read this with me, we just send each other memes about it all the time. Like, I'm happy that I read it for the memes, for the pop culture references. I'm happy that I read it. So anyway, I give it more like a 2.5 though. It was my least favorite out of all three, and I think the first one was the best by far. That's my thought on it. So, okay, so then next we read together First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. Looks like this. This is a book about a con artist. This woman, she works for like, she's not her own boss. She works for this person who has her assume all these different identities and get different information on people. And so the whole book is kind of filled with morally gray characters. And I think I give this one like a 3. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't dislike it. It was fine. It had like a few twists, but they weren't really that shocking. So it was fine. After that, I read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I give this one a 5-star. I really like this one. I have read, this is now the 4th Emily Henry book I have read, and this is my favorite one out of all of them. I don't find Emily Henry quite as funny as Ali Hazelwood and Abby Jimenez, but she's in that same realm. Emily Henry's books, they usually, her characters, like Abby Jimenez, her characters are usually somehow involved in the medical field. Emily Henry's characters are usually involved in the literary field. Ali Hazelwood, her characters are usually involved in STEM. And in this book, the main character is a librarian. So I was like living out my childhood librarian fantasies. I used to think that I wanted to be a librarian. You know, things change over time. We all have like 10 things that we think we're going to be when we grow up, when we're kids. But a librarian was one of mine. And I had a really good time. I liked the constant great banter between the two main characters. And I really enjoyed the healthy relationship that the main character had with her mother in this book. Lots of times we have some rather dysfunctional, which is very realistic, relationships between our main characters and their mothers. But she did have a dysfunctional relationship with her father. I mean, you can't have everything. But I like to feel the closeness between mother and daughter in this book. So I recommend it. I thought it was great. Spice level, I think, is like a 2 out of 5, if I remember right. So then I read Annihilation, which I mentioned earlier. This one's been on my TBR for a few years, and my buddy read it with my friend, and this one was made into a movie with Natalie Portman, which was kind of my main interest in reading it as a book, seconded by the fact that I'd seen it on a number of people's like 4 or 5 star reads or something, and I was like, okay, this will be interesting when I'm into something sci-fi. From my understanding, the book differs, maybe not a ton, but significantly from the film, or shall I say the film differs from the book. So the gist is, there's these 4 scientist women starting an expedition into this area called Area X. And it's an area that's like slowly growing. It's slowly creeping out into the rest of the space somewhere in the United States where it's located, I think. In the movie, there's 5 people. In the book, there is the main character, who is the biologist. There is a psychologist, an anthropologist, and a surveyor. And they start in together, and then they start splitting up for reasons that vary. I think their plan is to all stay together because this is the 12th mission in, and you come to find out that the main character's husband was actually on the 11th mission in. So these different teams just keep getting sent into Area X, and it's not going well for them. But whoever's sending them in wants more information on what's going on in here, so they keep sending these people in to find out stuff. It is a very, very trippy, bizarre book. Everything that the main character sees in here is bizarre, and you're seeing it through her lens, which may have gotten unreliable very early on in the book. So a lot of the time you're wondering if what you are hearing her say that is there is actually there at all. So if you want to share your thoughts with me, if you've read this book, in the description and in the comments below. I really haven't had a lot of discourse about this book except with the one friend, and I feel like you can have a lot of different interpretations about this book. So I don't want to say too much more in case you decide that you want to read it, but if you like sci-fi that doesn't take place in space, it's like biological sci-fi here on Earth, and it's all female led, and which I liked, and it's just a thinker. Oh, okay, so the other good thing about this book is it was only like a 5-hour read or something. So as you're going into it, if you're like, okay, this is a lot, I don't really know how to wrap my mind around it, knowing that your book is going to be over in 5 hours, it makes it a lot easier to stick with a book like that than if you were reading like a 52-hour Sanderson book. Speaking of long books, the next book that I started is The Count of Monte Cristo. I've never read this. I love the movie, but I'd never read it. So I started it. This is by Alexander Dumas. This is a very famous piece of literature, and the 2002 version is the only one that I've seen, with Guy Pearce and Jim Caviezel. And Henry Cavill, I didn't know, was in that film. So anyway, you probably know the tale of The Count of Monte Cristo, but it's a tale of revenge, and when you're reading it, I actually feel like I'm reading a Shakespeare, because it feels very much like I'm watching/reading a play, so, which is very interesting. I didn't expect that. So I'm really enjoying it. It takes place in like 1815, I think it said, something like that, and it's actually moving really quickly. So I'm already to the part where he's in the jail. He's been moved to the dungeon. He's been there for like 2 or 3 years already. And he's trying to decide, like, does he just let himself die? Like, what does he do? And this is right before he decides that he's going to set his focus on revenge, and like that's what's going to keep him alive. If I remember the film right, it's been a while since I've watched it. And I think this is right before he gets made, not cellmates, but like right next door to the old guy who has the abbey, who has all that money hidden somewhere, and he keeps trying to tell everybody, let me out, I'll give you all this money, and nobody believes him. So that's where I'm at, and I'm really enjoying it. I have to admit, I have pushed my speed up pretty high on this book. So if I feel like it's kind of just really pacing along well, it might be because I turned the speed up, but I am enjoying that. So I exclusively these days read by listening on Audible, because I can stitch at the same time, I can do chores, I can do work, you know, I can work out, all the things while I'm listening to my books. So I still have Voyager, the 3rd book in the Outlander series. I have, that one's a little over halfway done, but I paused that to read these other books with my buddy, and then I started Count of Monte Cristo. So I'm still really enjoying those, and I plan on continuing. It's on a little bit of a pause right now. So that's everything I've been reading lately. Thank you for letting me know what you've been reading in the comments and what your favorite stitch is right now. I hope you have tons, just tons of stitchy time in the next couple weeks. And do you have any new starts planned? If you want to tell me about your new starts, that could be really fun. I think that's going to be about it. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. And I will see you back in 2 weeks. Happy stitching till then. Stay safe and take care of yourself. Bye.